Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Vikings Vent Line right here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and podcast feed. Every Sunday, I like to host an episode with Vikings fans talking about the offseason, the upcoming season. If you have takes on the Vikings, if this is a show you'd like to be a part of for the first time, you can gladly hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. That's the email to send an invite to. If this is a show where you want to get some hot takes off your chest about the purple, I'd love to hear from you. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. During the regular season, Mackie, Judd, and myself I like to hop on here with as many Vikings fans as possible, but I still like to talk some in the offseason. So look forward to hearing from you. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen on the YouTube channel, and then it's vikingsventline@gmail.com for the audio audience. Ventline also powered by our friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. It's been a rainy one here in the Twin Cities lately, but at the same time, you still have to make sure that HVAC and even the air conditioning, you don't want to have that go out on the hot days. You actually want to make sure it's in good hands on one of these cooler days, right? So make sure that the AC is being tuned up properly by the experts at Standard Heating, and you can communicate them with your way. You don't have to call them. You can actually just go on email or text, however your preferred method is. Standard Heating can make that accommodations happen. So contact Standard Heating. Tell them that Purple Daily sent you to make sure that HVAC and air conditioning is working appropriately. All right, so let's get our guys in here. Our guys Jason and Eric here on Vikings Vent Line. Boys, thank you for making some time here. Eric, tell me here. So I know you've been teasing and you've been emailing me a little bit about this. You have is it a connection to a former Vikings player, or you have a story about a former Vikings player?
All the above, actually. I actually played high school football with probably close to one of the best offensive linemen that's ever played for the Minnesota Vikings. Coral Springs High School, he played a lot more, but I played with Steve Hutchinson.
Oh, wow. Cool, man.
Yeah.
That's
Hall
awesome.
of Famer. And he was an amazing teammate. He was actually insanely awesome defensive lineman as well, but obviously a Hall of Fame offensive lineman.
Yeah, I would obviously love it to be back in the time machine there and not only watch him play offensive line, but I'm sure he was bigger and stronger and faster than like 98% of the competition. Maybe I'm making an assumption there.
Oh, no.
But I bet he was a monster on both sides of the line.
Yeah, real quick story if I could. I played, all of 5'6", 145, 150 pounds. I played defensive back, and obviously he played guard, and it was a pull play, and I was playing guard. I had a choice: either get yelled at by coach or just take on the block. He hit me so hard, not even exaggerating. I was looking through my ear hole. And he picked me up, slapped me in the helmet, turned it back straight, and I'm like, dude, you hit me enough. Please stop. So,
Stop.
No, but he was a really good teammate.
That's awesome, man. That's a sweet story. Very cool, very cool. And then, Jason, are you in Minnesota? Are you somewhere else? Where are you located at? And then how long have you been a Vikings fan?
I'm located in Minnesota from St. Louis Park, so right outside Minneapolis. And I've been a fan basically my whole life, all thanks to my great-grandma. She originally lived in Wisconsin, but then she moved to Minnesota. So she was at first a Packer fan, but then once the Vikings became a team, that was her team. And I still have two posters, one signed by Michael Bennett to my great-grandma. So that's kind of cool. I still have them set up and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So let's start here. Eric, I'll start with you. Obviously, Dallas Turner didn't get a lot on the field last year, but he was behind a couple studs there in Van Ginkel and Grenard. The expectations are he's probably going to have a little bit more snaps. Might not be a starter full-time right away, but I've made a lot of cases, and we can certainly talk about McCarthy and other things here. But just your overall expectations for Dallas Turner here in year 2 with the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, and that's being drafted in the first round, I don't think is always indicative of like you should be on the field right away, go. You should be able to pick up the playbook. It's one thing to go play for certain defenses, I think, but to play in Flo's defense, I mean, he was a little bit behind the 8 ball. I maybe wasn't picking up the playbook right as quick as he could have. Maybe that could be possible, but just having those guys that were in front of him, I think was a blessing in disguise. I mean, not having to jump in there and take it all on himself all at one time, he was able to sit behind those guys, learn how to be a pro, learn how to play in a very deep system. And I think, and from what I've heard, he's gotten bigger, stronger, faster, and then I think he's going to be able to play quicker, more free. He's not going to have to think as much. So I kind of wrote a couple things down. I think like last year he had 11 tackles, 3 sacks, and 1 interception. I think this year he's going to see a lot more time on the field. I'm going to go 60-plus tackles, 7 sacks, and 3 picks.
3 picks. I like that. So ball hawk, maybe a guy that's tipping balls the line or something, or
just being able to get tips at the line, I think. But also, as you saw in that one pass, his athleticism where he did get that interception, where he was almost, it looked like he's playing like Murph out there, being able to dive and make that interception. So I think he is definitely a ball hawk. I think he's going to see a lot more different types of things on defense, playing linebacker, playing on the edge. I think you're going to see a lot more out of him.
Yeah, I like that. Jason, how about you, man? What are your kind of expectations for Dallas Turner in year 2?
I kind of went the same route of just like looking up his stats. So I was kind of hoping, like, PFF said his total snap count was 302. And they had him listed for like 12 pressures. But I think if we could just double all of his stats moving forward, like the forced fumbles, the sacks, the tackles, just getting him more snaps and allowing him to get more pressure, that should open up, the avenue for him to just be more active on the field. But like B-Flow said, he has 3 starters in that position. So it's kind of like a give and take, but I'm just kind of hoping that we just see double production value out of them.
Yeah. They obviously have some guys in front of them, right? And Gennard and Van Ginkel, who we talked about, and now with Pat Jones gone too, I think that's probably going to open up some more playing time for him. And I mean, they traded up to get him. I know people have some qualms with what Kwesi's done in the draft so far. There's obviously, the Lewis Cine pick wasn't great, and we'll hopefully see what JJ McCarthy can do. But Dallas Turner being maybe a secret weapon in Brian Flores' defense could be absolutely huge. Eric, what are your just kind of overall expectations for the Vikings this year? They turned the keys from Darnold over to McCarthy. It was a great year last year, and I know it ends with a dud in the wild card round. But what are your expectations this year for the Vikings?
I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off, to be honest with you. Just once again, the injury sucks, but at the same time, having the opportunity just to learn, and the way he talked about how he learns, he sits with the defenses and stuff like that. I think that speaks a lot. That way he knows not just how to read a defense, but how to think like a defensive player. So I think he's going to really rise up in that aspect where I don't think they're going to have much of a drop-off from McCarthy to Darnold. But I think – so like I said, I wrote down some stats. In 2024, red zone offense was ranked 19th. I think we're going to be top 10 this year. And then rush offense also in the second half, bottom half of the league. Once again, I think we're going to be top 10 in there as well. And then I think that really what it comes down to is going to be how we're going to be able to run the ball. We got 2 hammers, well, 1 hammer, and then, you got Aaron Jones that can catch out of the backfield, and just how we're going to be able to use the 1-2 punch, keeping Aaron Jones fresher, healthier for the long term of the season. And then just having both of them in the backfield is going to be just taking it to another level. And then adding in, especially in the red zone, adding in McCarthy. People don't understand how good of an athlete he is. And he doesn't take long to make a decision. He makes a decision and he goes. You saw a lot of that when he was with Michigan. I think this year we're going to have 2,200 plus rushing yards. And last year we only had 9 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. I'm
going 20.
Okay.
Just by adding, Mason back there and everything like that. And then with McCarthy. And then, with Ty Felton on maybe some jet sweeps, you never know. Mm-hmm. And I just think we have the talent we have. And now if you add in the offensive line, that offensive line up front is amazing. And I think that is going to make huge difference in our rushing.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And making the running game better for McCarthy will make his life a lot easier, not having to throw 30 to 35 times a game. And I don't know what the raw projection stats look like for McCarthy in 2025. It's just kind of hard to project right now. But put the infrastructure around him, give him a good furnished home, and hopefully, obviously, doesn't burn the house down. I think that's kind of. I know that's a floor expectation, and some people say you're still selling him short, but they put him in a position where they're not going to ask him to be a Superman. He just has to make sure he keeps the train on the tracks, basically.
Absolutely.
And then Jason, how about you, man? Obviously McCarthy now being here, good running game, some good protection now up front. What are your kind of expectations for the Vikings this year?
Expectation-wise, I was looking at where we were projected to be based off of like BetMGM. They had us at like 8.5 wins. So I'm definitely shooting for, more than 8.5 wins. And then I don't, trying to like have like a more level-headed approach, kind of hoping we just make the playoffs as a wild card team. But then a big like expectation, kind of like a more hope, kind of just going more crazy here. Just have 2 hot takes for what I kind of expect is hopefully JJ can win comeback player of the year coming off that injury. And then also, I would love to see Jefferson break Calvin Johnson's, reception record that still hasn't been touched. But I kind of believe with JJ now back there on kind of doing more intermittent passing routes, over the middle, maybe down a sideline or two. Jefferson, he could definitely take a fine crack at breaking that record.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weapons here in the Vikings offense. He's come close with, now Kirk Cousins and obviously Darnold last year too. So now he gets McCarthy. They obviously have this great relationship here that they're building, and which I'm super excited to see. And yeah, I mean, it's 8.5. I get it because you're starting a quarterback who hasn't played a snap in a regular season. So I know some fans are a little upset about that. From the Vegas side, I get it. And if you're a Vikings fan, then you just hammer that over, man, and hopefully you get some money out of it. One more thing here on Vikings Vent Line before I ask you for some more hot takes and some shout outs. Eric, you've seen a lot of Vikings head coaches. For you, where does Kevin O'Connell kind of rank? And I know it's to be determined, right? He's only been here for a few years, but for you, where does Kevin O'Connell rank, or maybe what do you like the most kind of about him as the Vikings head coach?
Well, what I like most about him as a head coach is he asks a lot of his players and demands a lot from his players, but yet versus the prior regime, people want to run through a brick wall for him because he shows them the why, and Zimmer really didn't feel like he had to give the why. It's good to know the why, and he's always talked about that. And I think as these players, and he relates to them, and he gets to know his players. And I think that's just really important, not to say you have to be buddy with all of them and stuff like that, but just to know they care, that he cares is really important. Now, where I would rank him, you can't deny number 1, Bud Grant. I mean, that's, and I've been, like I said, I've been around a lot of coaches all the way back to Jerry Burns and, 40 plus years as a Vikings fan. But then I think you got to go Dennis Green, number 2, just what he was able to do with this team and stuff like that. And I would say 2B, maybe 3, just because he hasn't had any playoff wins. Then I go KO. His top 3, and after those are the top 3. And we've had some decent head coaches. With I would say maybe Tice was a decent coach, but I never really saw him he was a great offensive lineman coach. He was one of the best I think we had for offensive line coach. But those are my top 3, and I think KO could possibly jump into that number 2 if he has another strong season. And it doesn't even have to be 13, 12 wins. It's just a strong season, get in the playoffs, and win in the playoffs. Yeah. That's, I think, really important.
Yeah, I mean, that's the next step. I mean, he's 0-2. He's guided the teams to 2 very successful regular seasons, and then have kind of fallen short in the playoffs. So go time. Let's see what he can do. It's totally fair not to have him above Bud Grant, and we'll see if he maybe does pass, Denny Green and Mike Zimmer clearly here, maybe even as soon as this year or in the next few seasons. Jason, how about you, though, man? I mean, what do you really like about Kevin O'Connell as the Vikings head coach?
What I like about him the most, if you go back to watching the Jefferson interview that just dropped yesterday, and you see how KO looks at Jefferson, just seeing his face and you can see how much he cares and appreciates him as a player. And that just it does something. It just like warms your heart as a fan. But man, he just seems like he truly does care and he wants the most out of everybody. And that's kind of all I ever kind of could ask for out of a coach for my favorite team. But kind of putting him up against the rest as like a tier list, I'd definitely go Bud Grant #1, even though I wasn't alive to see much of it. But from hearing everybody and seeing all the articles written about him and like just doing some history, he's definitely #1. And then I think it's kind of a tie for Dennis Green and KO for #2. And that really just comes down to like what Kevin was saying about like, he has to win a playoff game. And then anything else after that is just additional. But I think if KO can bring a Super Bowl to the Vikings, it's kind of a hard conversation to have about who's better, Bud Grant or KOC.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Bud's got the longevity. He's got the 4 Super Bowl appearances. But yes, if Kevin O'Connell brings a Super Bowl to this town, then yes, I mean, you're talking statues, you're talking plenty of things. One before we die, which is obviously the motto here. So I hear you. Well, hey, fellas, before we wrap here on Vikings Vent Line, Eric, any other last takes that you weren't able to get out or any shout-outs you'd love to give here on Vent Line? The floor is yours.
On the defensive side, I didn't touch on, but overall defense, we were ranked 16th last year. I think with the additions that we've made this year, and then just having Harrison Smith back for, I hate to say it, but it's probably a swan song. I think you're just going to see a different defense up front. I think we're going to be able to blitz less and get more pressure, which is huge for the backside. I think we're going to be a top 5 defense this year. Past defense, I didn't believe this when I saw it. We're 28th last year. I say top 15 there. Defensive rush, we were great, second. So I say we kind of stayed in that same. And in the top 5 scoring defense as well. And I just want to give a shout out to my wife, who's always giving me garbage. She's like, why don't you just like another team every time they lose, or why don't you just like another team? Why don't your team sucks or stuff like that. But I actually was able to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars game because I live down in North Florida.
Okay.
So I was able to go to the Jaguars game, and we went on our anniversary. So God bless her for that. And she's coming around. She's actually will be happy when they win and doesn't give me garbage when they lose. And she's coming around to be more of a Vikings fan now.
That's good. I love to hear that, man. I love to hear that. It can be tough with spouses that are either along for the ride or confused about the ride. So shout out to all of them that support or just try to understand what the heck's going on with their significant other. Yeah. Jason, how about you, man? Any final takes? Any shout outs here on Vikings Vent Line?
Definitely shout out to the girlfriend. We're in a fantasy league with her family. Yeah. They say there's an asterisk against my win last season, but I won, so it is what it is. Shout out to her. Then, my dad and then my little brother, who I'm going to send this to, immediately want to drop so they can look at me and just see how stupid I look talking about the Vikings on a show. But I think a good hot take to kind of end would be, I kind of hope that JJ McCarthy does become like the franchise quarterback that we all want him to be. I kind of hope he just smashes every single record that we have.
Yeah.
Just all across the board. Let's just go pedal to the metal. Let's get crazy. We already call him, I call him my sweet, sweet prince. We have Pookie, but my girlfriend hates it. I always talk about him. I'm like, look at JJ McCarthy, our sweet prince. He's on my TV blessing us. And she just rolls her eyes and throws a pillow at me.
Yeah, Pookie. I love that one for Thor. It is a good one. So, fellas, thank you so much for joining Vikings Vent Line. Great takes, great stuff. Thank you for supporting Purple Daily too. And again, anyone listening and watching, if you want to be on a future episode, hit me up. It's VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment, where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.